A lot of tongues have been wagging if they really think that this documentary is a puff piece, a PR stunt, or one of the realest documentaries that ever existed. Welcome back to Top 12 with Katie, guys, and today I'm going to be telling you about some lessons that I learned in the David Beckham series. One of the lessons I learned was discipline. Discipline. I cannot emphasize this enough because throughout David's life, everything basically was about discipline. So we could see right from when he started playing football at the age of 4, how his dad wanted him to represent Manchester United, and we could see how much he played. He wasn't really doing so well at school, but he focused more on football, and his family was supportive about his dreams on football. So one bad decision could ruin everything. So we could see this in the 1998 World Cup between Argentina and England. We could see this where Diego pushed Beckham on the field and Beckham reacted and hit him back. So once he hit him back, he got a red card for this, and his manager instantly blamed the whole team losing due to him getting a red card. So basically the manager was like, okay, England lost this game because David got a red card. I mean, some managers do. This is also something else that I learned, that some people placed above you might not necessarily be that helpful to you, or they could be like your biggest problems in that case, because as soon as his manager said that, the next thing he said was like, oh, Beckham caused this for us, we lost because of him, and everybody just went hating Beckham back in England. Like, it was so real because they started sending bullets and letters for him. They hung his jersey, like the imitation of his jersey, and a mannequin on top of a building, imitating that they were going to kill him. People were spitting at him. It was such a horrible point for Beckham because one person said this. So basically, I feel like compared to his under manager, Alex Ferguson didn't even have to talk to the press about anything, the players or anything about their lives. He just always kept quiet in front of the media. But rather, Green Hoddle was just like, oh, blame it on this guy made us lose. So are you trying to say that if he wasn't, like, let's say he probably had a broken ankle or something else happened to him on that field and he wasn't able to play, are you trying to say that, oh, because he wasn't able to play, that therefore England was going to lose? Was England's glory dependent on him alone? That's one thing that I took out of this lesson, that people won't always be supportive of you. People would want to emphasize on your weaknesses a lot. Another thing I learned is having an awesome support system. First of all, we could see his dad, his mom, during that period of crisis. They were all there for him, his girlfriend and all that. They were all there for him. They were supportive regardless of whatever the media was saying, because basically, football is an emotional game. So everyone was literally against him. So despite what everyone said about him and how they felt about him, his family was still his comfort zone. So imagine if he had, disregarded his family, his friends, because now, oh, he's a football player and everything is going so well for him. Who was he going to fall back on when things hit rock bottom for him? If he wanted to, he will. We could see that based on an aspect of this series where he saw the Spice Girls advertisement and he was like, ooh, I want that one, when he was talking to his now wife, Victoria Beckham. Then she was just, an artist, living her life, focusing on herself. Another key thing, focus on yourself. I mean, I feel like if Victoria was just like, lazing around, staying at home, not doing anything about her life, not doing anything about her passions, not doing anything about her aspirations or anything, I'm not sure they would have met. But who knows? Anything could have happened. So yes, he was like, I like this one. I'm going to marry this one someday. The manifestation of him marrying her, though. That one was like 100%. He knew what he wanted, and he didn't mind driving 4 hours just to meet up with her, calling her at 3 a.m. and traveling almost across the world just to see her whenever she's on tour. Use people's criticisms as a motivation for you. At that point, England was like, oh, David was the worst thing that ever happened to them. He was a disappointment. Even when he was playing other like football games, they were like, boo. They constantly booed him. They constantly booed Victoria. They just said nasty things about him, about Victoria, and stuff like that. But rather than letting the criticisms that people had about him to diminish his self-worth, rather he focused and he proved himself that he was not just another football player who was just going to run off, a one-hit wonder who's just going to be like, oh yeah, in that time he was like reigning and everything, but right now he's no longer reigning. So like, I'm just gonna say that he focused on building himself from people's criticisms. Whatever they said about him didn't determine the fact that he was still, and he is still, one of the most famous football players and one of the most skilled football players. He had to prove himself constantly, especially when we see in Real Madrid during that point where he got an offer from LA Galaxy and they wanted him to fly to America, and Real Madrid was like, oh, they felt like that he cheated them, this and that, and they benched him and they did not allow him to play for their team anymore. He kept on coming to practice. He kept on doing things normal as usual that he would do. He kept on training. They made him train alone, and even after training they still benched him. So regardless of everything that was around him, regardless of the whole scenario, he was still focusing on himself and his passion. That's football. So people, focus on yourself, focus on your passion, because that's what's gonna help you at the end of the day. That is what is going to push you forward. One of the most important things I learned was planning after your career. So after this present career you're doing, after your present job, what next? After school, what next? So that's one thing I really learned about this series, is like, he knew that he wasn't going to play football forever. So he had to make plans for himself. So he currently manages a team called Inter Miami FC or CF. I think it's Inter Miami CF. So he currently manages that team, and we've had Lionel Messi sign up to that team to play for that team, and it's a wonderful achievement because he still has a passion for football, and you can see that even despite the fact that he's way past the age of playing football, he already retired, we can still see that his drive and his passion for football, he still kept it running in exact similar ways. So that's just to say that, okay, right now in your current career, let's say you're into music, you're into fashion, how can you establish what you've learned? How can you further it? How can you make it better? How can you make it establish you in your old age? And yeah, before I leave, definitely, I do think that this is one of the realest documentaries ever, because I've never seen someone being like so humane and down to earth. I mean, you're talking about David Beckham, one of the hottest, one of the most famous football players in history, and he's just being humble. I couldn't even detect him being prideful about anything. Him also marrying another celebrity star like Spice Girls, push of Spice Girls people, like, guys, and they're like so humble. I feel like this is one of like the realest documentaries I've seen, and I don't really think it's really a puff piece or a PR stunt. I really think that it was so humane, and that's just the thing, guys. So these are some of the lessons that I learned from David Beckham's series, and I hope you guys found it interesting, and I hope you guys also have other lessons that you learned. So comment below if you have watched the series, and if there are other lessons that you learned that I thought that probably I missed out on them. Comment below, let me know what you think. And guys, you know the drill. Make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe to this channel, guys. So see y'all next time.